morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you. Got a lot of people with a tube. I'm eating my own hair. Hope you are today. Hope you're in Grenell's when you world. Hello there. Welcome to another episode of How to Play Like John Frusciante. Nearly messed up. Anyway, haha, hello. Today I'm going to teach you the song Snow in its entirety. I'm going to talk, obviously, the main riff, the pre-chorus, the chorus, and the original unison bend solo. I'm also going to show you kind of like how to come up with your own kind of improvised solo and what kind of scales to use to kind of come up with your own improvised solo for Snow, and also some of the kind of little bits that John would do, kind of like that. You know, those kind of things. I'll talk about them, you know, at the end of the video. But anyway, so yeah, chords to Snow verse are pretty simple. It's really, really cool how the song was written. The chords are mainly just kind of G sharp minor, E major, B major, and F sharp major. And instead of kind of doing it like this, John opted for the kind of like just playing it differently. Instead of kind of like, he said like instead of kind of doing it like traditionally like Jimi Hendrix kind of style, like, that kind of thing. He opted to kind of like go, oh well, why don't I pick it? You know, and that's how it came to be. It's just basically a little kind of alternate take on like that Jimi Hendrix style, which John is like, you know, really, really good at. So it's just a really kind of cool natural progression of that. So that's how kind of the riff came to be. So anyway, without further ado, that was loud. Anyway, without further ado, let's get to teaching you the how to play Snow, because it's awesome. It's a bit of a stamina riff. You kind of have to keep playing it over and over again to kind of like get your hand to kind of want to behave and to kind of like keep going and keep going. But there is a certain way to kind of do that. So anyway, let's get to it, shall we? Snow! It's not actually, it's raining, but hey. Okay, so let's get going with the main riff of Snow. This is one of the most iconic kind of Chili Peppers riffs ever. I think it's just absolutely brilliant. It's really melodically strong and everything like that. So the first chord we're doing, you can either do it two different ways. What we're after is kind of like a triad. I do it this way. I'll show you the way I'll do it. Ring finger goes on the 6th fret on the A. Little finger goes on the 6th fret on the D, and my first finger goes on the 4th fret on the G. John actually does it with those like that, so the little finger doesn't actually come into it. John actually does it like that. But I find it a lot more comfortable to use my ring finger and little finger. I mean, depending on how like you feel, really. Just kind of try different ways and see which one feels better to you. That one feels better to me. So, this is the first chord. I say ring finger on the 6th fret on the A, little finger on the 6th fret on the D, and first finger wants to be on the 4th fret on the G. And it's A, D, G strings. That's the picking pattern to start with. And then you go back to the D string. So A, D, G, D. So like that. And then we do a diddly-dum between the 4th and 6th fret on the G string. So hammer on from the 4th fret on the G to the 6th fret on the G. Pull off. And then you finish up on the 6th fret on your D string. So the whole thing so far is... And then you finish up on this note here on the 4th fret on your G. Like that. And there's a fly buzzing around. Go away, fly! You are not part of this video. Be gone with you, and never darken my door again. Anyway, moving back to Snow. Yeah, so that's the kind of the first thing, and the picking pattern doesn't ever change. It's, you know, it's kind of down, 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 and then you go back to, you know, back and whatnot. But so that's the first bit, and then what the next chord, it's kind of a bit of a stretch. The next one is you reach your little finger over to the this is the next chord. The little finger wants to be on the 7th fret on the A. and then your ring finger wants to be on the 6th fret on the D, and your first finger still wants to be 4th fret on the G. So your first finger doesn't move, but kind of those kind of fingers kind of almost kind of trade places almost in a way. So that's the next chord you want to be going for, and this is like it's like an E major chord, well, E major triad if you will. So that's the first one, and then because you're kind of already in that position, you just reach your little finger over, so it falls under the hand very nicely. So little finger over to the 7th fret. It's a bit of a stretch. It will take a bit of time to get that comfortable. Same picking pattern again. A, D, G, D, and then the same diddly dum. So the whole thing so far really, really slow. One more time, and hopefully you can kind of see my right hand as well. It's, you know, it's just those 3 strings, the A, D, and G so far. Chord, we're moving this shape up a string basically. So now instead of being on the A, D, and G, we're on the E, A, and D strings. It's exactly the same chord shape. So this is the 3rd chord now. So little finger 7th fret, low E, ring finger 6th fret, A string, and your first finger has moved now up a string to the 4th fret on the D string. But it's exactly the same thing. So we go, you know, E, A, D, A, and then we do a diddly dum between the 4th and 6th fret on the D string, and end up like that. So it's like a mirror image of what you've already done here, but it's just there basically. So the diddly dum happens between the 4th and the 6th on the D. So hammer onto the 6th fret from the 4th on the D, pull off. Go to the 6th fret on the A, and then finish up on your 4th fret on your D. So I hope that makes sense so far. So the whole thing so far really slow is this. And one more time for luck. So when you get it to kind of speed, it sounds more correct. You know, you get the idea of that. Okay, so the next chord, this is where John does something that kind of gives your hand a bit of a break from a riff, so to say. So the next chord is this, but what John does, it's not too dissimilar to what he does in the Zephyr song. He walks the chord in, and then just only plays this note once. The root of the chord, he only plays it once. So the next chord is like an F sharp major, and you kind of do it in this shape. So little finger wants to be on the 9th fret on the A. Actually no, forget that, sorry. Let's start that one again. What you want to do is kind of walk it down. So from this, with your ring finger, you want to be sliding to the 9th fret on your A, and you can do this like any of these 3 fingers really, but preferably that first one wants to be anchored. So the next chord you want to be A string 9th fret, and then you want to be going to your 8th fret D string. Leave that note now alone. Just play it once, and then once you get here, create this kind of like this shape here. So your middle finger wants to be on the 8th fret on your D, and your first finger wants to be on the 6th fret on the G. So like that. So you only play that once, so it's dun, and then it's gone. So like that. So it kind of fits in like this. you kind of, you're kind of walking it in, but you're not keeping that note ringing out. That note, once you play it once, is gone. You don't play it again. You don't need to. So, that's what you're doing so far. So, 9th fret, A string, get off it, and then you want to be kind of creating this kind of, this shape. So, 8th fret on the D, 6th fret on the G, and with either your middle finger or your ring finger. I don't know which one I use, it kind of varies, I think. So, it kind of doesn't really matter. Whatever's comfortable at the end of the day. I think I use those two more than anything. So, yeah, walk it down, and then so you go A string, D string, G string, D string, and then it's just a diddly-dum again between the 6th and 8th fret. Counting, it's hard work, I tell you. So it's like, so hammer onto the 8th fret from the 6th on your G, and then you go to your 8th fret on your D, and then you finish up on the 6th fret on your G. So that's kind of like the first kind of that's kind of like the first part of the riff, so to say. So from the beginning. Not playing that full chord gives your hand a break from, the stretches, because it is a stretch. This whole song has got some, like, that riff is a stretch, and it does take its toll on your hand, and especially through the first verse and the second verse, because it's like a double verse. It really kind of takes its toll on your hand and wears your hand out really fast. So having that little bit of a kind of a respite, so to say, just going, really helps your hand and just gives you a bit of relief, basically. So the whole thing so far, kind of at speed, is just this. Forget the mistake, that was my fault. You fool! But really slow, it goes like this. Okay, so that's basically kind of like the first part of the riff, to snow. The second part is exactly the same, but we end on a different chord, basically. Well, different shape, so to say. So, and the shape is this. Okay, so yeah, so the second time around the riff, you don't go to this one, you go to this. So what you are doing, so the whole thing is. Once you get to that B major, you go down a fret. So your ring finger wants to be on the 6th fret on the low E, and then you use your first finger to bar the A and the D strings on the 4th fret. And it's exactly the same kind of picking pattern. The picking pattern doesn't ever really change. So it's just like, E, A, D, A, and then you do a diddly-dum between the 4th and the 6th fret on your D string. And then you finish up, you play your 6th fret on your A, and then you finish up on the 4th fret on the D. Like that. So the whole thing so far is this. So second time around. So that's basically the whole riff. And sorry, I've got something in my mouth. Gross. I think it was hair. Meeting my own hair again, ladies and gentlemen. Do apologise. Anyway, back to the riff. So that's the whole thing. I'll do it one more time, really, really slow. This is the way John plays. Let me show you the way John does it. so you can kind of hear, you know, the riff is, it's just, I don't know where I was going on. Anyway, ignore that, I was just going off on a random tangent. What am I on about? Where am I? Who are I? I don't know. Yeah. But anyway, that's the riff, and I say, it does take a bit of time getting it. You know, it does take a bit of time getting it kind of under your fingers, so to say. And also I need to kind of amend something, is on this one, you know, you kind of got this kind of fourth ringing out as you kind of pick those strings. So you kind of keep that fourth on as you're kind of doing the diddly-do. You know, you can kind of hear it. Hopefully you can hear what I mean by that. But, so yeah, that's the kind of main riff. And that's how I'll do it one more time really slow, just because it's always good to kind of show it like super slow. So this is super slow. So that's it, super slow. That's the riff of Snow. Like I said, it does take a bit of getting used to, especially with the stretch chords. I mean, they're quite, you know, they're pretty substantial, and especially where they are on the neck. They're not exactly, you know, they're not down here, so it's not easy. It's very hard to kind of like get used to it, and get your hand to behave. And your hand will wear down, and you can hear live and in the studio versions, if you listen to the isolated guitar of John's, you can hear his hand is getting tired, and sometimes he doesn't quite make certain notes. But that's totally fine. It really doesn't matter, as long as you kind of get the main kind of core of it. Sometimes kind of he'll kind of stumble on that one. You know, it's fine. It's fine to kind of like, you know, to struggle with this riff. It's not an easy one to do. It really isn't. But I say, just keep going at it. Your hand will learn, the stamina will build up, and you will be able to kind of do it for longer and longer each time you kind of play it. So yeah, and then you kind of get to kind of speed, and it just sounds, it's just cool. And I would recommend, if you can, I would do it with your thumb over the top. Doing it like that is a lot of strain for your wrist, and because it's so fiddly and diddly, you don't get your thumb up as high as you can, because it's just going to be bad for your wrist to kind of like do it like this, to kind of do it like a bar chord thing. It'll be really bad for your wrist in the long run. It'll hurt, and it'll, you know, it could cause you some real damage in your wrist. So, you know, do your best to try and get your thumb up as high as you can. It doesn't have to be over the top at all. You know, it doesn't have to be kind of like, you know, Jimi Hendrix barring all the strings, but it does help if it's over the top, and because you're picking it, it's not really doing anything kind of muting wise. You're not strumming or anything, so, you know. But it does help if it's over the top, just to kind of like put your hand and your wrist in a better position, like, you know, straight into the guitar neck, instead of kind of like that, where it's at a kind of a right angle, which is not good for you. Okay, so that's the main riff of Snow. I hope I've done it in a way. I do apologise for all the fingers, and hopefully you can kind of see what I'm doing. I hope it hasn't masked it too much. So yeah, let's move on to the pre-chorus now. Okay, so the pre-chorus of Snow, after you come out that bit, we go to an E chord. Like, it's like an E major, but it's like an E. No, I don't know. It doesn't matter. All you need to know is how to play it. So first finger wants to be on the 7th fret on the A, and little finger wants to be on the 9th fret on the B, or 3rd finger, depending on, you know, your ring finger, depending on what's more comfortable. I would say your little finger's better, because it just kind of like, you know, it kind of falls under your hand a bit better then, and you kind of got a bit more control. So, but if you can't use your little finger, your ring finger's fine. I wouldn't recommend your middle finger. I think that's a bit too much of a strain for you. So yeah, first one is this. First finger wants to be on the A string, 7th fret, and the little finger wants to be on the 9th fret on the B, sorry. that's the picking pattern. So it's A string, so you know, it's a lot like scar tissue. John uses chords a lot. You can kind of hear, and hopefully you can kind of hear the rhythm that's there. So you kind of only playing this note kind of once really. It's this kind of high string. It's kind of got a bit more rhythm to it. So. That's the kind of rhythm we kind of want for the rest of the thing. So after this chord, we move that shape up to the 9th and 11th fret. So first finger now is on the 9th fret on the A, and your little finger is on the 11th fret on the B. Now we move up again to the first finger on the 11th fret, and your little finger on the 12th fret. So. You kind of hear that picking pattern stays, you know, throughout, kind of thing. Alright, hang on a sec. And you kind of stay on this this chord, yeah, the third chord the longest. The what would it be? It's like a G sharp minor. You stay on that kind of longer, and then you go back down to the 9th and the 11th. And then you go back down to your E, your first chord. So kind of really slow, it's like this. Actually, I'll tell you what, I'm going to do it coming out of the riff. So. I hope that makes sense. I kind of messed up on the going into that bit. It's weird to play it, like to slow it down. Normal speed, it's kind of. You know, and I think in the studio version, John's picking it. In the live version, he strums it more, kind of does that. That's kind of like the left-hand muting technique he does, where his first finger is killing the low E, D, and G strings, and his little finger is killing the high E. And also the thumb can kill the low E if you want. And he does make it a bit more bigger when you strum it, because I'd say it's cool to pick it. But I would definitely say it's more kind of strummed if you're going for that kind of live kind of sound. The studio version is definitely, and it sounds almost like it's in kind of an out of fade. Yeah, but anyway, that's enough on that. So yeah, that's the first chord, second chord, third chord, and then you go back down to your E. And what John does here is he gradually kind of brings in the low E string before the chorus to make, like, you know, to bring it into the chorus. So it kind of goes like this. And then unmute the low E string. And it just sounds a lot bigger. So instead of this, you got the low E string ringing out. You know, and that's when you just kind of go hell for leather, strumming the nonsense out of your guitar, basically trying to get it in. So coming out the riff goes like this. Okay, so I'll do it one more time. I'll try and do it as slow as I can. It's really quite difficult to slow this song down for some reason, but I've got an itchy ear, everyone. It's really hard to slow this song down, but hopefully you see what I'm doing, you kind of hear what I'm doing, and it makes sense, hopefully. Fingers crossed. So yeah, here we are. So that's the kind of like the pre-chorus I said. And I say I hope that makes sense. So the whole thing so far is this. I'll do it slow. I'll do it at speed and then I'll do it slow. So really slow now. So hopefully that makes sense. I know if you can kind of hear what's going on there. So that's the main riff, kind of variation 1 and 2. That's the pre-chorus. So the chorus now is awesome because you can just hammer your guitar to pieces. Maybe not to pieces, but you know, you can hammer on your guitar in the chorus and just make it as big and as fat as you humanly can. Oh, by the way, all the song in Snow is on neck pickup alone. John doesn't switch to any other pickup. It's solely neck pickup. So yeah. So let me show you the chorus now, the chorus chords, because this is really cool. This is where you kind of get after all the stress and the strain of keeping this riff kind of consistent, you get this kind of big blowout in the chorus where you can just kind of like release the beast, release the kraken. Anyway, weird. Let's move along to the chorus. Okay, so the chorus to Snow is really nice actually because everything in Snow falls under your hand. You know, the way the riff does, the way this kind of goes. Once you reach this E, ignore the wrong notes there. Good gravy, Davy. After that, you kind of go to this chord here. This is the first chord of the chorus and it's a B major. You're not playing the A string. The A string's dead. So you don't, I'm muting it with my thumb. So thumb wants to be playing the 7th fret on the low E and killing the A string. Ring finger wants to be on the 9th fret on the D. Middle finger wants to be on the 8th fret on the G. And first finger wants to be barring the bottom 2 strings, the B and the high E on the 7th fret. So that's the first chord. And then the next chord is an F sharp major, and John plays it like this. So first finger wants to be on the 9th fret on the A string, and again your thumb can kill the low E string if you can kind of do this, but it kind of varies. It does, you know, I would use my thumb to kill the low E string actually. You can use your first finger if you wish, but I think your thumb would be a bit better. So first finger on the 9th fret on the A string, then your ring finger wants to bar the D, G and B strings on the 11th fret. So first chord, second chord, and then your high string isn't played either on that F sharp. It's just dead, and it's that's actually muted by your ring finger, kind of like a little bit of skin from your ring finger not pressing down to mute the high E string, because my first finger is kind of above it, and this is kind of where John does his power chords. It's very cool. A lot like Kurt Cobain. It's kind of, that's Kurt Cobain, that's John Frusciante, and that's Jimi Hendrix. But anyway, moving along. What am I doing? Snow, yes. So B major, F sharp major, and then the next chord is this. And this is a really cool chord. It's got this extra note on the high E. It kind of sounds really, kind of almost kind of suspends the chord, kind of, you know, keeps you in suspense, I'd say. So thumb wants to be on the 9th fret on the low E. A string isn't played, so that's dead. And then you ought to be playing the 11th fret with your middle finger on the D string, barring the G and B strings with your first finger, and your ring finger wants to be on the 11th fret on your high E. Or you could do it like that, depending on what's more comfortable. I find going from that chord to that is fairly easy. I find going from that to that is easier for me. So it depends really what you want to kind of do. So from the F sharp, you can either just kind of lift that finger up, like that, or you can kind of just do that. Either way, whatever's more comfortable, find whatever way is more comfortable for you to play it. It's so important that you find your own way that's comfortable for you to play it, really. Regardless of what John does, regardless of what kind of I do, if that's best, do that until, but I would recommend the thumb over the top. It's really key to kind of this style. But, if that's comfortable for the time being, do that. I can't stress enough how important it is to be comfortable when you're playing. So that's the last chord. So first chord, second, and third. And you basically just hammer the bejesus at your guitar. It's the chorus and you can go mad, which is good. You can also kind of put your little finger in onto the 12th fret if you want. I've heard John do this a few times, not a lot, but it's quite cool. It's a very kind of by the way era thing to do that. So that's just kind of adding your little finger in onto the high E string on the 12th fret. So that's that. So the whole thing together does this. I'll do it fast first, and I'll do it slow. So that's the whole song basically, apart from the guitar solo. So really, really slow now is this. No, I'm going to have to do it my way. I find it a bit confusing doing it that way. That's John's way of doing it. This is kind of like the way I find, but it's come more comfortable to me. So really slow. And hopefully you can kind of hear the rhythm. The chorus rhythms are a lot of downstrokes. There's a lot of downstrokes in the chorus strumming. I hope you can kind of hear that. I hope you can kind of feel where that needs to go. And I do apologise for my mess up on that. Ugh, I don't know. Anyway, but hopefully you kind of see that. So that's the verse in its variation 1 and 2. That's the pre-chorus. That's the chorus. I say the chorus is just kind of like a big vent, basically, kind of get some of the aggression out that comes from a riff. One of the hard parts I will say is coming out of the first chorus back into that riff. So once you kind of go, but you do come out of it supercharged. So you kind of tend to dig in a lot harder, and you can kind of hear it when John plays it. When he comes out that first chorus, his picking is a lot more aggressive than it is at the beginning, because you're kind of like been charged up and the adrenaline's pumping from the chorus. So yeah, that is quite a change to get from like that chord to back down to a picky one, and that will take time. But you know, stick at it and you will kind of get there. So. That's the riff, that's the pre-chorus, that's the chorus. Let me talk about the guitar solo now, the harmonised unison guitar solo. And then I'll talk about what scale to use, how to come up with your own guitar solos. So yeah, let's do that. Okay, so the guitar solo in the studio, Stadium Arcade version, and what John would do kind of at the first kind of couple of gigs for Snow is this. You know, you're just unison bending, and it's very melodic, and it goes to the chords really nicely. So what it is your first finger wants to be on the B string on the 7th fret, and you want to be bending up the 9th fret on the G string to join that note. So first finger stays where it is, and you bend up your G string with your middle finger and your ring finger to meet the note. And that does take a bit of getting used to. So that's your first one. Then you want to come down here to your first finger wants to be on the 11th, and your middle and ring finger will be on the 13th. Well, technically your middle finger's on the fret behind it, so that's the 12th, but you're not playing that note. But anyway, I'm getting confusing. Ah! So that's 11th and 13th. Yeah, 11th and 13th. And then you go to your 9th and 11th. And I hope you can see if I've messed up somewhere. So yeah, so 7th and 9th, 11th and 13th, and 9th and 11th. And you kind of vary this. You can kind of go first time, and then second time you can kind of do this to finish on, or you know, there's all sorts you can do, but I'm going to get to that in a minute. But that's the basic kind of solo, and it kind of just goes over like this. It's pretty straightforward, very melodic, very simple, but super, super cool. So that's the kind of unison bend solo, and it is harmonised in the studio as well. But I don't want to talk about that. That's the one that John would do live when he did do it. So now I want to talk about making your own solo to Snow, because we all know John loved to improvise and mess around. So let me talk about what scale you can use and what notes you can use to develop your own kind of in the style of solo for Snow. Okay, so Snow's kind of core key is G sharp minor. The whole song comes out of that. So down here, you want to be using your G to kind of create your own solo. You want to be kind of going for G minor pentatonic. So you want to be where are we? 16th fret on low E, 19th fret low E. Oh, I hate these double digits. And then you go down to your 16th fret A, 18th fret A, 16th fret D, 18th fret D, 16th fret G, 18th fret G, 16th fret B, 19th fret B, 16th fret high E, and 19th fret high E. So Django Reinhardt style, like this. And then just descending, just because, why not? And one more time. So that's your G sharp minor pentatonic. You can also add in the 18th fret on your high E, and your 17th fret on your B, and also your 15th fret on your G. So those notes, you can add them in as well. So the whole scale so far is this. And descending. And basically that's just a B major. Pentatonic, not pentatonic, that's just a B major scale there at the bottom, because the bottom of a pentatonic is just a major scale. But anyway, enough on that for the time being. You can also bend up your last fret and kind of start with that kind of thing. It's really quite cool. You can do so much with the solo for Snow, you really can. But that's the kind of notes, that's just kind of the scale you want to be using. I wouldn't really recommend using your A and your D, your low E, sorry, your low E and your A, but you kind of can use it, but I don't know. I find the solo for Snow when you're improvising one wants to kind of really stick out, so it's quite nice to kind of do it kind of high up on the high strings, and then kind of work your way down to like the lowest one goes your D string, you know, to finish on. It'd be really nice to kind of. You know, I don't think the A and the E really want to be in the solo. They're a bit too low. It wants to kind of like be quite big. But you can bend up. You can be bending up your 19th fret on your B, or 19th fret on your high ear tone. And you can half bend your 18th fret up to the 19th. You know, that kind of thing. But yeah, you can kind of go mad with that, and all kind of John's improvised solos are kind of in that shape. They don't really kind of deter. And you can also do it down here if you wanted to, the exact same shape, you know, here. It translates up here, so instead of kind of like between the 16th and the 19th, you're between the 4th and the 7th, so. So you know, that's another shape. You can do solos up here as well if you want. I wouldn't really recommend it. It's okay, but there's nothing better than a big screaming guitar solo down here, especially when you kind of kick the DS2 on the Ibanez wah, which I'll move the camera back in a second, and I'll do a little solo for the outro. Why not? But yeah, so yeah, that's Snow in its entirety. That's the scale to use to kind of learn to kind of improvise your own little guitar solos over, or figure out John solos. All the notes in that scale John will use, you'll be able to hear them, you'll be able to pick them out, including the bends. He doesn't really kind of go outside of that pentatonic shape for this solo. It's not really long enough to kind of do anything like that. So you know, you haven't got a long solo to kind of build it. It's just like, you know, it's got to be impacty straight away. You don't want to be kind of like starting off kind of low and building it up. It wants to be from the get-go in your face. You know, really does if you kind of like create your own solo. It wants to be really kind of like, you know, smack bang in the face. So yeah, I hope this has been a good lesson. I hope you kind of like have explained it well, and you know, it's been informative. I always try to be. And yeah, I hope this teaches Snow in its entirety. It's an awesome song, if that makes any sense. I think that's a word. And it's so worth learning to play. It's hard work, it's stressful, but it's so worth it, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. It really is absolutely stunningly beautiful song. So so yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you again for another one very soon. Have a great morning, afternoon, good evening. Yeah, goodbye now. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye now. wait, there's more! That's correct. There's more, John. In this. That's right, I want to teach you Tiny Dancer really fast because there's not a lot to it. So, the first chord he does in Tiny Dancer is an F major. And it's a little finger on the 8th fret on your A. Ring finger wants to be on the 7th fret D. Middle finger wants to be on the 6th fret B. And your first finger wants to be on the 5th fret on your G. That's your first chord. The second chord you want to go to is this, which is an E over F major, because you've got an E note here and you've got an F major chord there. So your ring finger wants to be on the 7th fret on the A, and you want to use your first finger to bar the D, G and B strings on the 5th fret. So first chord, second chord, and then your last chord you get to is a D minor. So first finger on the 5th fret on the A, ring finger on the 7th fret on the D, little finger on the 7th fret on the G, and your middle finger wants to be on the 6th fret on your B. High E string and low E string are not played. So first chord, second chord, and then third chord. And then to go back to the F, you do this. You go hit the D note, the A string on the 5th fret, just that one note, and then you hit your 7th fret on the A string, and you go back to that. So the whole thing so far really slow is this. So you can kind of hear that, and John does that really pronounced. So that's the whole thing so far, and you kind of, hopefully you can kind of hear the strumming pattern it is. You know, that's really, it's just a really kind of, you got to hit the guitar hard as well. So that's the first time around. The second time around, you play your F, and you C, and then you go to this G chord, which I'm not 100% what it is, but it's super cool. So it's quite a hard chord to get to as well. So thumb wants to come over onto the 3rd fret on the low E, ring finger on the 5th fret on the A, little finger wants to be on the 5th fret on the D, so it's just a power chord, and then your first finger wants to be on the 2nd fret on the G, and then your middle finger wants to be on the 3rd fret on the B. And it is a hard chord to get to. It takes a bit of kind of getting used to. And that's also the chord you end on. So first time is that. Second time. And so you can see it does take a bit of getting to. So the whole thing at kind of normal speed is like this. Depending on what version you want to play, you can kind of go back into it. But that's the whole of Tiny Dancer. That chord is a pain, but it's cool. It's a lovely sounding chord. And it's a lot easier to play it when you stood up. I don't know why. Sat down is really quite difficult, actually. Anyway, but yeah, really slow now, just because, why not? Okay, so this isn't really slow. Damn you! Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this lesson on Snow and the bonus of Tiny Dancer, which I know wasn't in the description, but I thought I'd put it in as a little bonus for you all. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you again very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye now.